Shammers, gamers, students. Hi, welcome, and happy Maid Day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Goshujin-samas, Ojo-samas, happy Maid Day. Happy. Would you believe, what do you call it? Rip was the one who had to remind me, like, oh, Tip, it's Maid Day. And I'm like, it's what? It's already May? But I should know by now. I actually started bearcat school on Monday, so I've just been like, ugh. But with work especially, I've just been like more, ugh. So today, even though I know I probably should have put a schedule up, again, I apologize. It's just one of those things that kind of happen, and then I'm like, I really need to study, but I also want to stream, so we're gonna learn together, okay? Let's learn some pathophysiology. Pathophysiology is like a fancy, how do you call it? Well, unfortunately, we're gonna learn more foundational stuff, but hopefully, in the next coming weeks, we'll learn some really cool things, like a lot of disorders and diseases and all that good stuff. Hopefully, it won't show something too gross. I hope that's okay. I hope it's okay. Even if it's a little gross, I hope that's okay, because it's just a human body, and that's as natural as it comes, Always nice to see the Maid outfit make a return. It's so good. I'm so glad. Honestly, I feel like we were just talking about it a little while ago in the previous stream, so it's just one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, today's the perfect day. So yeah. Let me politely scroll, and then I'll kind of work out what we're doing today. Hopefully. Alright, let's see. But hi Ro, hi official, welcome. Or oh no, I feel my smoker voice coming, so wait. Alright, I have to be cutesy because it's Maid Day. Okarinasaima-san, Rebel-sama. Okarinasaima-san, Lazaro, hi, welcome. Okarinasaima-san, Preston. Welcome. Okarinasaima-san, Ashley, welcome. Let's go. Going politely scrolling. Now, Okarinasaima-san, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And hi, Dashin as well. No worries about looking. I always appreciate you stopping by. Okarinasaima-san, and safe travels to whatever you end up doing, especially making dinner. Some serious business. I hope it comes out super yummy. And if you need a magic spell, you can come back to me. I did a little moe cute. Anyway. Sarah, hi as well. Okarinasaima-san. Say the bad word? What's a bad word in Maid? I guess it's still heck, so heck. Okarinasaima-san, Sunny, hi, welcome. Hi, Tip. Seems like I need to add Pathophysiology to my vocabulary. Could I get a quick definition in language of its origins? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Well, it comes with my frustration from the class, so it's Plus, it's not as fun to type. It's such a long name. So, origin, me. Definition, frustration. Hi, Pels as well. Okarinasaima-san. Welcome. Pestilence Pog? Pels, please. But actually, thank you for shouting Pels out. Thank you. I wouldn't know. I don't speak Maid. I don't speak Maid either. I'm a faker. I'm sorry to ruin any of your cubs' hopes. But hi, Salik. Okarinasaima-san. Welcome. Alright, and with that, I will politely cough out my lungs. So today, again, like I said, we're doing a little impromptu study stream, especially on our Maid Day, so boo-hoo. One of the major classes that I have, or the one that has like the most credit hours right now, is going to be our drumroll, Pathophysiology! And like I was saying, it's pretty much we're going to be learning about kind of how diseases occur and all that good stuff, but right now, because it is the beginning of my class, we're going to be learning some foundational things. Excuse me. So my professor has left me with 3 PowerPoints. They do have voiceovers, so I don't know how beneficial that will be, we can try to see. And if the person sounds like a robot or really unenthusiastic, we'll just learn ourselves, okay? And then we'll take our own notes. I do have PowerPoints, but how I like learning is I'll kind of put everything onto a Google Doc. So pathophysiology, and right now we're going to be trying to do the intro to physiology and pathophysiology. We'll kind of go over our objections, write our notes throughout our like hour or two together that we have, or even more. I you know, if I get into the study group, I'll definitely do it. And we'll go back to our objectives at the end and be like, hey, can we do this? Can we define physiology, pathology and pathophysiology, and identify the themes, discuss homeostasis and mechanics in place to maintain homeostasis, including the function of control systems. You know, really fun, interesting stuff that you would love to learn in the background, you know? Like a sponge, just soak it in, right? Sir, hi, welcome. Okarinasaima-san. Well, professional PowerPoint voice acting, I will become the professional PowerPoint voice actor. if I have to. Persons? Wait, where do you see that? What? Homeostasis? I know. Super homie. Thank you for keeping me in check, homie. Homeostasis, by the way, for those unfamiliar, is just basically like the balance in your body. So your body's really being a big homie with that. So yeah. I didn't really get too much into my own PowerPoints, which is kind of poopy, if I do say so the least. So let me actually get that switched up. These are, again, just my own notes, and a lot of it's just kind of copy and pasted from the PowerPoint. Maybe it is best that we'll go over like the little notes that I have, and once I don't have anything else, we'll politely just switch over to the PowerPoint. We'll try to hear the voiceover, and again, if the voiceover is completely poopy, again, we'll just learn ourselves. So one moment. Alright, so intro to pathophysiology. So the first out of our 3 PowerPoints that we're going to be doing is just our introduction. Oh, thank you for the head pat. Thank you. Arigatou gozaimasu. And so we have several 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 objectives that we're going to be trying to do. So our first one, after we review this PowerPoint, we should be able to define physiology and discuss the levels of organization. We'll talk about basically how we are in the world and how we are perceived. Review the 10 organ systems as well as their function. That's something that, these are like the 2 that I basically got down, and I just didn't do any more last night because I was so tired. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I appreciate you, sir. Thank you. So compare mechanistic and teleologic explanations. This is my first time seeing this word. Can we see what it is? What does it mean? Let's see, okay? Related to or involving the explanation of phenomenon in terms of the purpose that they serve, rather than the cause that they arise from. What? That's really interesting. Okay. Oh, did I skip too much? Yeah, here you go. So another one is to identify the 4 major sorry, it cut too much in the stream, I see. Identify the 4 major themes of physiology, define homeostasis, and discuss the importance in the human body, compare homeostasis, equilibrium, and steady state, define the different types of control systems, differentiate between positive and negative feedback systems. Oh no, Humble Hotel. Oh, I like your name. Thank you so very much for the follow. Welcome to the Cow Club. Welcome. Or okarinasaima-san, because it's Maid Day. Welcome. I'm just going right now over some of the objectives that we have in our PowerPoint, so we have a vague idea of what we're going to review before going into it. You ready to learn? I'm so excited. I'm so excited. That makes me super happy. All right, I'm excited then. You're excited? I'm excited. Alright, so we're going to differentiate between positive and negative feedback systems. We're going to explain set points and biological rhythms, whatever the hecky that is. Somehow, at the end of all this, we're going to define pathophysiology. And then, We're gonna define the role of a PT in evaluating and treating patients with such health conditions. So let's go, okay? So let's define physiology and discuss the levels of organization. So even though I am in a class of pathophysiology, let's break it down a little bit. So physiology, or it's going to be the study of normal function of a living organism and its components or component parts. So as we see in this graph right here, we have like these big categories, and basically from the smallest like life form to the biggest life forms. So we have in chemistry, we focus on atoms and molecules with a slight overlap with molecular biology of molecules and cells. Cell biology will overlap, and then we have molecules, cells, and tissues. Physiology, again, is going to be our normal function of the living organism. So it's going to include molecules, cells, tissues. Exclusive to this is going to be the organs, the organ systems, organisms, and populations of one species. And then we're going to have another, oh, you can't see my mouse. Heck. And then we're going to have another overlap right here of the ecology. And that's going to include our organisms, population of one species, the ecosystem of different species, and biosystems. So that seems like a lot, but basically it's just kind of seeing things from previous classes that we have learned and how they all kind of come together and how physiology kind of plays a part in this. So again, we're going to be focusing on the big yellow. All right. So again, this is as far as my notes go, unfortunately, before hopping to the PowerPoint. But let's review the 10 organ systems as well as their function. So my PowerPoint, my professor was very nice to provide a picture like this, but I didn't really necessarily get it. But we're going to try to break it down little by little to see if we can get a better idea of it, okay? Okay. So the first system that we have is the, oh my goodness, how do you pronounce it? This is basically a fancy word for skin. Integumentary? Integumentary, right? Let's see. Google, don't fail me now. Oh, I don't want to watch a 1-minute video of how to say that word.
Integumentary.
I don't think that's how you say that word either. Alright, real life examples. How do you say this word?
The integumentary system.
An integumentary system. But yeah, that's just a fancy word for, again, your skin, your outer layer. The organ cube? Wait, don't say that. We're basically the organ cube, Robo. We're the organ cube. Anyway. So in our little organ cube, the integumentary system forms a protective boundary. Like I said, it is your skin, which is going to include the epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. These are just all layers of your skin. So we have the more superficial, the middle, and our deepest here. We have associated glands, such as maybe like our sweat glands and all that. We have our hair and nails that are also part of it. These again are going to be the barriers. Like, you know, when you have dirt underneath your nails, yeah, that's your integumentary system at work. I am the dermis. I mean, aren't we all? Barriers. Yes. I see you're looking at the big picture. I appreciate it. But yeah, then we're gonna go down. So after our skin, we're gonna be focusing on the musculoskeletal system. The musculoskeletal system sounds really intimidating, but it's just simply muscles. It's going to be that system that's going to provide support and movement. So basically all those other previous anatomy lectures we were going over, which some I hope to kind of go over now, in future, not now, but in future study streams, we'll learn more about some muscles. So in my last trimester, we learned more about the upper extremities and like the head, the neck, and arm muscles. This time around, we're going to be learning about the leggy. So we'll talk about more about that when we have a gross anatomy study session. But for now, pathophysiology. Let's go. Nanga, hi. OMG, is that a bearcat? Yes, the one and only, but not really, because we're not that endangered. Welcome. And okarinasaimashou. Happy Maid Day. Yeah, just studying a little bit of patho. Alright, these four systems are kind of grouped up because they don't necessarily do the same thing. But if you had to simplify it, I suppose they do, but not necessarily. So materials are exchanged between the internal and external environments. And again, this concept is grouping respiratory system, digestive system, urinary system, and reproductive system. So I kind of expanded a little bit more into this. Is this wrong? Huh? It was right. What the heck? So respiratory again is just a fancy word for respiration or breathing, and pretty much how, you know, we breathe in through our mouth, out through our nose when we try to relax, and all that air going through our body into our lungs to, you know, well, let us breathe, and also allow for deoxygenated blood to become oxygenated, yada 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 yada. We kind of learned that last time in Gross Anatomy 1 when we were talking about the heart. I don't know if I had like a super long lecture about the heart. I think I was talking about it when I was doing the final review, but yeah, same thing. So respiratory system is going to be responsible to attain fresh air into the body while removing waste gases. And again, this system is going to include our airways, so the bronchi, the trachea, all that good stuff, the lungs, and the blood vessels involved into this. The next one that we have is going to be our digestive system. So rest and digest is going to be a part of our parasympathetic system, but that's kind of reaching right now. Maybe I shouldn't talk about that. But digestive, easy peasy lemon squeezy stuff. It's what we've been doing pretty much all our lives. We eat something, we digest it, we break it down, we get the nutrients, and we're good. So yeah, definition that I ended up finding was digestive system breaks nutrients into parts small enough for your body to absorb and use it for energy, growth, and cell repair. So when we refer to the digestive system, we're going to include the mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, the large intestine, the intestine, rectum, and anus. The urinary system is also going to be a part of this as well. It's going to help filter blood and create urine as a waste byproduct. This is going to include the kidney, and from the kidney we have two ureters, which is going to help carry the urine from the kidney to the bladder. The bladder is also a part of the urinary system. The sphincter muscles are going to help kind of contract and help us, you know, pee when we need to. And the urethra, the little opening that allows pee to, well, go through. And the reproductive, I don't know why I left blank. Oh, I think I gave up. Reproductive, please ask your mama bearcat and papa bearcats. But that's also going to be a part of our 10 systems. We also have our nervous systems, not to be associated with our anxiety or anything like that. Our nervous system is something we'll talk probably a little bit more about when we go more into the brain. But yeah. We have the endocrine system, which is dealing with our hormones, and this little organ cube. The nerves and endocrine are grouped by helping to coordinate body functions. We have the circulatory system, which is going to distribute materials through the blood. So we have our little system right here, the circulatory. And then our last one is the immune system. The immune system is going to help protect the internal environment and is closely associated with the circulatory system. It's not illustrated in this diagram, but it makes sense. You know, our red blood cells are white blood cells, and then, you know, oh no, the white blood cells are the things that kill the virus, but the white blood cells are the thing in our circulatory system. So it working closely with the immune system, you know, kind of makes sense. Right. Unfortunately, I don't have any more notes from my own, so we're gonna go to the PowerPoint and kind of learn from there, if that's okay. I'm gonna be taking notes on my own little Google Doc though, so let me see how I can divide it out. And how do you call it? Show you cups? No, it's so small. Why is it so small? Big 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 okay, you know what, that's fine, this is fine. What if I do this and that and this, because I do want to take notes at the same time, but a lot of this information I'm gonna politely regurgitate back at ya. I am no longer a bearcat, I'm mama bird now. I will politely this knowledge back into your brains, okay? So we talked about our objectives. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Oh, perfect. So we already talked about our objectives. So right now we could define physiology. And again, that's going to be the idea. That's going to be the study of normal function of a living organism. We discussed the levels of organisms. Or not organisms. We discussed the levels of organization. So let's kind of go back to this picture right here. So again, we have our chemistry, the molecular biology, cell biology, physiology, and ecology. That one I don't think is too important to focus on. It's a little overwhelming, but it makes sense. Oh, from atoms to a whole hecking biosphere. Wow, life is amazing. Hence, teehee, the organization of life. We already talked about the 10 organ systems. And so let's kind of move on to the function mechanics. So let's hope for the best and see how this voiceover goes. Let me know if it's a little quiet. I don't really know how the lo-fi music is comparing to the rest of my speaking, or how it's going to sound in comparison to the volume of this pre-recorded lecture. So let's see. Hello.
Physiologists differentiate function and mechanism. The function of a physiological system is the why of the system.
I feel like it's so quiet.
For instance, a question a physiologist would ask is, why does a specific function or event help an animal survive?
I'm sorry, voiceover. I appreciate you, but I can't do it. I think you're too quiet even if I blast you. So, let's learn the function and mechanism. So again, these are the interesting words. I was like, oh, what does this mean? So we're going to be focusing on function versus process, the why versus the how. So for the teleological approach, it's going to explain the purpose or goal or the function, the why. So as we were talking about with the circulatory system, why do red blood cells, RBCs, as we're going to see abbreviated in the future slides, transport oxygen? And it's really simple. Why? Because the red blood cells need to do its job, because the cells need oxygen, and if they don't have oxygen, they kind of just die off, which is no bueno. So if that is our why, let's focus on our how. So for the mechanistic approach, it's going to explain the process or the mechanisms that's happening within our body. How does it work? So how do RBCs, or again our red blood cells, transport oxygen? So this is going to get super technical, but the simple answer is that oxygen molecules are going to bind to the hemoglobin found in the red blood cells. Because of that binding, it's going to allow the transportation of oxygen. And bam! Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Let's see, what is this next slide though? Physiology? Theme 1. Structures and functions are closely related. Molecular interaction, compartmentation. Wait, it's just saying like the themes for physiology? Huh? I guess. Okay, let's try. So we have 4 themes in physiology. So theme 1 is going to be the structure and functions that are closely related. And it makes sense. The structure, it's built to do what it's supposed to be. Like again, in our previous examples, red blood cells are built the way that they are and have the components of the hemoglobin to do its job. That hemoglobin, again, is going to allow that oxygen to be carried and transported to other cells. So that's theme 1. Theme 2, living organisms need energy. Yeah. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Theme 3, information flow coordinates body function. So from DNA and cell-to-cell communication. So you cubs are, I'm not that well versed in DNA, but the basic idea of DNA is that our body is, the DNA codes our body to be a certain way, of why we have a certain hair type, or hair color, or eye color, or anything else. We can go a little bit further into genetic disorders, but I think that's actually something that we'll look into a little bit more. There's actually some really interesting genetic disorders. There's one, I forget what it is. I think it might be Hunter's disease? Actually, I'm really like morbidly curious now. Let's see. Hunter's disease? Oh. hold on. Do the hold. Oh. Alright, so I will not show this one. But one disease, how to explain it? I took pathophysiology in my undergrad, but I'm retaking it in my graduate school just to get that nice refresher and whatnot. One of the diseases that stuck with me, genetic wise, is Hunter's disease. So it's like a rare inherited disorder in which the body does not digest or break down the sugar molecules in the body. So these sugar molecules can build up over time in the organs and in the tissues, and they're going to cause damage that's going to affect both the physical and mental development and abilities. This most commonly happens in males, and pretty much they have a really short lifespan. They're normally between the ages of 10 to 20, and then they die. I do not believe it's a curable disease, but it's one of those things why it's really important to do genetic testing if you're planning to have a child with someone, because it's a super rare disease. Like both parents will have to carry it, and at that point you have to determine, like, do you really want to do that to your child or not. But yeah. Okay, I drive now. I'll see you on the flip side. See you on the flip side. Have a good one, SG. Drive home safe. Bye 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 bye. Oh. So yeah, genetics. Wow. Anyway, so theme 4 for physiology is going to be homeostasis maintains internal stability. Again, like Faust was saying with the little joke of like homeostasis. Homeostasis is like our homie. Again, keeping that balance is to avoid any other kind of weird complications we'll have with our body, because our body's kind of wacky. Alright, so let's focus on this, okay? So now we're going to be focusing on internal environment. I don't know why it's crossed off. What? Fix. So let's see. So let's focus on this picture. External environment, extracellular fluid, intracellular fluid. So this is going to be our buffer zone right here, and this is kind of a more simplified photo or picture of this image right here of a cell. We have our cell right here. We have, which is going to be it's going to be our internal environment. Then on the outside barrier, that's going to be our ECF, little buffer fluid, and then outside the cell is going to be the external environment. So the internal environment, again, within the cell, external cellular fluid surrounds the cell. See? Compensatory mechanisms return the ECF to its normal state when there are variants outside the normal range. English. Oh, okay. So basically, if there's something wrong in the external environment, the ECF is going to do its best to keep the internal environment okay, and will return it back to normal when everything else is pretty much normal. So let's go over here to mass balance. What does this mean?
The human body is adapted to cope with a variable external environment.
Oh.
But tolerance varies from cell to cell. The figure on your slide from your textbook illustrates the law of mass balance. The amount of a substance remains constant if input is offset by equal loss.
Man, this is reminding me of my early chemistry classes. I know it's like a simple equation, but I'm just like, no, do not give me math. I do not want it. Alright. So let me look at the picture now. So for our input, the intake through the intestine, lungs, and skin goes through. That is going to be the body load. And from there, the output is going to excrete by the kidneys, liver, lungs, and disease. Is it really just like a simple what must go in, must go out? So metabolic production, alright, our body's doing the thing, the body load, and then metabolism to a new substance. Okay. A term we should know is clearance, the rate or removal of a substance from the blood expressed as a volume of blood cleared of substance per unit of time. They're gonna kill me with math. Law of mass balance. Mass balance equals existing body load plus intake or metabolic production minus excretion. Okay, let's try to hear this lovely lady out.
So let's look at this more closely. Input of a substance into the body comes from the outside environment.
Okay.
The organ systems involved are the intestines, lungs, and skin. Input also occurs from metabolic production.
Okay.
Now there are two ways that the body chooses to output material, through excretion and also metabolizing the material into another product called a metabolite.
Like, what would be an example of that?
Excretion clears substances from the body. And it's relatively easy to monitor how much of that substance enters the body from the outside world, but it's more difficult to track substances inside the body to monitor their excretion or metabolism. So instead of measuring the substance directly, we look at the rate it takes for it to disappear.
Wait, so it's just metabolic
rate? The rate of removal from the blood. And the kidneys, liver, lungs, and skin clear substances from the blood. Mass flow can be used to determine the rate of intake, output, or the production of X, which is a substance. And scientists use the concept of mass flow to follow a substance from one compartment to another.
Okay. I guess that makes a little bit more sense. I wish there was more of an example. I am assuming, again, I'm assuming very simply we can put it in the idea of what must go in, must come out. And there is going to be an equation to, like, not necessarily focus on, but kind of like more for funsies. Like, congratulations, you can determine your mass flow. Isn't it so easy? And then I assume the second portion, especially right here with the metabolic production, that's going to be the idea of our metabolic rate, like how fast you can digest something and how it can become a new substance from there. Alright, so from there, let's move on to homeostasis. So again, homeostasis, in simple terms, is just kind of the balance and keeping the balance in our body. Dynamic steady state. So stable disequilibrium? What does that mean? So we have the extracellular fluid and the internal cellular fluid. The extracellular potassium. Ka-chow! Extracellular potassium concentrates are high. And the extracellular sodium and chloride concentrates are high. Okay. I'm not necessarily sure what it means by stable disequilibrium. I've never heard of the word disequilibrium. It's always just equilibrium or it's not. Why would you have a stable not equilibrium? That's something to politely like star and mental note and be like, professor, I don't get it. But the components in the extracellular fluid and the extracellular fluids are very familiar. The extracellular fluid, again, it's going to be potassium, while the extracellular fluid is going to be the sodium and chloride. Receptors sense a change in the osmolarity. Oh, fancy, fancy, fancy. And the compartments, and will quickly restore the range. To steady state. So let's see if we can understand from this picture. So receptors in the environment sense a change in ionic concentration and return to range to steady state. Pathology occurs when the ion concentration remains outside the normal range. This is requiring, we're gonna go to, what is it? What do people use now? Like the Academy stuff. I know there was an additional resource that she had put up. Let me see if I got that, and maybe we can learn a little bit off that. I don't think it's cheating. We're just using our resources. So let's see. Or actually, Khan Academy homeostasis. Hemostasis? No, homeostasis. Did I spell it that offensively wrong? No, I spelled it right. Why is it giving me this? Huh? Oh, actually, you know who's really good? I don't know if you Cubs have seen this person before. I used them when I was taking biology. Oh my goodness, I have not seen their name in 500 years. They're the Amoeba sisters. Let me see if I could pop it up really quick, okay? And also, let me pause the lo-fi really quick. We're gonna learn about homeostasis. Two cute little cartoon caricatures. Oh, it's a little wrong. It's okay. It cuts off. It's fine. Alright.
Balance. Yes, homeostasis. It's a state of balance. Yes, homeostasis means many things in your body. For example, that your blood stays within a certain pH level range. It means that your blood glucose remains within a certain range. It means your internal body temperature stays within a certain range. See, we've mentioned the major body systems before, and that they work together. And today we're going to talk about how they work together, using something called positive and negative feedback.
They saved my semester like 2 to 10 times. I can't remember. Same, look how many views that. Oh, you can't see it, but they have over 2 million views in just this video alone. We haven't talked about positive or negative feedback, so hopefully like within the minute or two we'll go back and see if that's something that's going to be mentioned in our PowerPoint.
And also how this relates to homeostasis. So many years ago, I had a pet bearded dragon. Her name was Debbie, and she was the best lizard ever. Debbie used to sit on our couch with me when I'd watch TV, and she loved to have her chin scratched. I even got her a bearded dragon leash so I could take her outside. Yeah, they make those. Anyway, Debbie loved her heat lamp. She would sit under the heat lamp on her rock, and when she got too hot, she would get off her rock and out of the heat lamp range and go somewhere else. She had a huge enclosure too, because I wanted Debbie to be a happy lizard so she could find an ideal temperature. Well, why all this talk about Debbie? Well, Debbie is an example of an animal that some people refer to as cold-blooded, or a fancier term, ectotherm. We actually like the fancier term a bit better though, because her blood isn't necessarily cold. Her body temperature can fluctuate with the environment. But not you. You are warm-blooded, or the fancier term, an endotherm. Your body works hard to keep the internal temperature it keeps. It's also a beautiful example of something called negative feedback. Before we define it, let us show you this example. Say you're in an environment that is very hot, like being outside in the Texas summer heat. That's typically hot. Thanks to nerves which can act as sensors, the brain notices this. It will send signals to counteract this variable. Sweat glands do what they do best. Sweat. Heat is lost as that sweat evaporates off your skin. You may have some redness too. That's because your blood vessels are getting wider, dilating, in order to help get rid of that heat. And the result, whether you realize it or not, helps you lower your body temperature.
I actually didn't know that. That's why you have the flush complexion.
Now, AC is blasting. You'll stop sweating. You may even shiver. The muscle contractions of shivering can generate heat. And those blood vessels will now decrease in diameter size, constrict, to help you conserve the heat, because that makes it harder for the heat to escape. Your body temperature can increase then. This is negative feedback. So a simplified definition, negative feedback is when some variable triggers a counteracting response in order to come back to some set point. If we consider that this whole thing is actually a negative feedback loop, we can see that the negative feedback brings the body back to the set point, which in this case is a stable temperature, keeping homeostasis. Negative feedback is also going on in the regulation of your glucose, your blood sugar. Okay, we're really simplifying this here, as we often do. But when glucose, blood sugar, is too high, one hormone that is released is insulin. I always imagine insulin as this hormone that makes the cells say, "Feed me," because it has the ability to make cells take in glucose. On the flip side, if glucose is too low in the blood, a hormone called glucagon can be released. This hormone can have many effects, and one of them is that it can cause the liver to release glucose into the blood. There's more to the regulation of blood sugar than this, but you can see how this is negative feedback. You have counteracting responses here in order to keep homeostasis. So, what about positive feedback? Positive feedback is when, instead of getting a counteracting
Doesn't like exaggerate or something?
variable, you instead intensify the
Yeah.
variable. Positive feedback can be like more, instead of let's counteract this. The example that always stuck with me when I was a student is the example about the human baby being born. In biology classrooms everywhere, it's a classic example. When a human baby is ready to be born, there is pressure on the cervix, and that pressure and the hormones involved cause contractions of the uterus, because that's a big part about how the baby is going to be born. More release of hormones will equal more contractions and pressure, which will cause more release of hormones. And more release of hormones will mean more contractions and pressure. Contractions help get the baby out, but it's also a part of a beautiful illustration of what positive feedback can do. So, why do we care about feedback? Other than, the importance of negative feedback in maintaining homeostasis and the role of positive feedback in many body processes.
Slightly speeds up.
We also need to understand feedback so we can understand what is happening when there is a problem in the feedback systems. One example, perhaps you've heard of type 1 diabetes. It's a disorder that can mean that your pancreas, which is an organ that is involved with making some hormones like insulin, is not working correctly. Insulin is not produced, and because of that, one issue is that you're not going to be able to get glucose, the blood sugar, into your cells. Now, glucose outside of the cells cannot be used in cellular respiration. The cells need to take the glucose in to make ATP energy in cellular respiration. Therefore, your cells need to be able to take in the glucose to survive. So many type 1 diabetics need to give themselves insulin and monitor their blood sugar because the negative feedback may not work as it should.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for the Nevis
Thank
sisters.
you. Okay. Maybe I put this away now and go back to the lo-fi. Alright. Homeostasis. I'm pretty sure. Oh, cool. We do talk about the feedback mechanics. I'm scrolling through like the little previews, but it doesn't say anything about negative, so boo. Alright, so let's go back to the control system. Is this what we're supposed to be talking about? So for the control systems, we're going to have an input signal. It'll go into the integrating system. There'll be an output signal and then a response. So the human body monitors key functions, for example, temperature, pH, osmolarities, blood glucose concentrations, etc. So our input signal can be defined as something that could start with a stimulus, the change that occurs when the regulated variable moves out the desirable range. So kind of in the example that we saw in the video, when it gets too hot, we're starting to sweat. So that is our stimulus. Oh boy, it's getting a little hot in here. And so that stimulus is going to go into the integrating system. With the output, let's read a little bit more before I start putting things into like little categories. So a specialized sensor monitors the variable. The integrating sensor, so what we have right here in our red, that's going to be either local or distant. It's going to evaluate the information. So input signal, it's too hot. Integration system is more like, yes, it is quite hot. The output signal is going to direct the target cell to carry out a response. So that signal is going to go to the response, and our response when it's normally too hot is that we begin sweating, or again also in the video it shows that people become flush, they become a little bit red. This is also another fancier way of going about it. So we have local control as well and reflex control. For the local control, that's going to be like the cell or the tissue level, while the reflex is more going to be long term. It's going to be involving the 10 systems that we were talking about earlier. So it's going to involve the nervous system, endocrine system, or both. Remember, anytime we talk about the nervous system, is going to be relating to like our brain, like the central nervous system, the brain and spine, and anything endocrine is going to be relating to our hormones. Daragon, hi, welcome. Okarina-san, happy Maid Day. Welcome. Hi, nice binya. Maidenya? Yes. Thank you. Yeah, we're going over some fancy pathophysiology, so please politely excuse me. I wanted to do something cute, but today's not the day. The nervous system? That's me! No! Don't be nervous. No reason to be nervous. You got this. So let's talk more about the reflex pathway. So we just talked about the reflex pathway being something that is distant. It's definitely not local. excuse me. So, within normal range, no mechanisms will be turned on. But outside of our normal range, that's when our reflexes start going. We're going to get that reflex response, and then we're going to talk about the feedback loop, which is something that I believe we have a designated slide. Kind of. But it was also briefly discussed in the video, so let's go back here and let's look at the reflex step, shall we? Naga says, understanding the human body as a computer is my passion. Same. Human body is pretty interesting as a bear cat. Pathophysiology is one of my better subjects, so good luck. Oh no! I'm actually kind of curious. I'm like, what was your major? Tell me more. I was mentioning that I took pathophysiology in undergrad, so it was really fun understanding and like learning about like all the fun things that can happen to the human body. But I remember not having the strongest like foundation knowledge of it. Like I could just name random diseases. Like again, I had mentioned like the Hunter's disease, and I'm like, yep, good enough for me. Yeah. So let's talk about this diagram. So reflex steps. So we have, for example, the water temperature is below a set point. That's going to be our stimulus. The thermometer senses temperature decrease, so that's our sensor. The signal passes from the sensor to the control box down the wire. So whoop, and then whoop, down the wire to the control box. In this case, this is going to be our integration center. The control box is programmed to respond to temperature below 29 degrees. So then we move on to 5, which is going to be the wire to the heater. The signal passes through the wire to the heater. So it's like, warm up, we're below 29 degrees, go. 6, the heater is going to turn on, which is our target, and as a response, the water temperature will increase. And then I assume maybe I shouldn't assume. Let's see. What is a good way to define like the feedback loop? Feedback loop and anatomy. Feedback loops are biological mechanisms where homeostasis is maintained. And yeah, I suppose. Again, the feedback loop is just kind of reassuring that there's going to be balance. So yes, cool, the temperature is good, but what if by off chance, yeah, it heats up and now you're above 29 degrees, but what if it goes back down again? So we'll end up looping, we'll end up doing the same thing again. We'll have our stimulus. Oh no, the water is cold. Our sensor, the thermometer, literally here saying like, hey, it's below 29 degrees. The input signal, which is going to be the wire from the thermometer saying, it's cold. The control box being like, yep, it is definitely cold. Sound out the signal. Go, get the message out. We'll go to the wire to the heater, which will heat up, and then eventually the temperature will increase. So feedback mechanisms, so similar again to the video, we talked about our negative and positive feedback. So our negative feedback is going to be, how the hecky do we turn this off, and how do we adjust and make things back to normal again? So we're going to have our initial stimulus, response, and then we're going to decrease the stimulus. We're going to loop back here and the response loops will shut off. Negative feedback are homeostatic and prevent the physiological response. So with the it's too hot example and you begin sweating, the sweating is going to help cool you off. It's not going to increase the heat that you're experiencing. It's going to try to resolve things as much as possible and bring back a balance to yourself. While positive feedback, it's a very similar thing where you do again have your initial stimulus, your response, but then the stimulus doesn't decrease, it increases because the feedback loop and outside factors required to shut off the positive feedback loop. Positive feedback are not homeostatic and it reinforces a physiological response. So the pregnancy example with the idea of like, hey, we're releasing more of these hormones so you can have more contractions so you can push this baby out, which I guess in that case is a good thing but a bad thing in other examples. So here's like the actual graph of like a pregnancy. So for a positive feedback loop, sensors monitor the variable, aka the stretch. The hypothalamus, which is the thing that we have in our brain, is going to evaluate the input signal, and from there, oxytocin, which is a hormone, is released and targets the uterus and cervix, and that hormone is going to be responsible for increasing the uterus or the uterine contractions. So, cervical stretch, the baby drops lower into the uterus. That's going to stimulate. The hypothalamus is going to evaluate again and be like, baby stretching, baby dropping. From there, the oxytocin release, which is going to release the hormones, which are going to cause those contractions. And you push the baby against the cervix, which is going to cause a stretch, that's the reason why it loops again. But if we go out the loop slightly, basically the delivery of the baby will stop the cycle. There's no more reasons to have these contractions because you no longer have the baby pushing against the cervix. Yeah. So what about our feed forward and responses? So the feed forward mechanism, so we have the salivation reflex. I don't know if you, this is more, I apologize. I feel like this is more psychology. Is it Pavlov? I believe it's the psychologist. The whole idea where you ring a bell for a dog and you give them food, and you do this for a little while, and once you take away the food and ring the bell, it will make the dog still salivate. Maybe it has some kind of relations to that. I can double check. But yeah, feed forward mechanism is going to be the salivation reflex. The stimulus will be like the sight, the smell, or the thought of food. So in the Pavlov example, it's going to be the thought of food from the bell ringing, and the response is going to be salivation, being like, oh, I'm drooling, I'm so hungry, and the stomach is going to have HCl secretion, so stomach acid is going gurgle, 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 gurgle. Right? So biological rhythms. So biological rhythms, this is something curious. So let's see. These are just 2 examples and 2 graphs. What does the lady have to say about this?
Biological rhythms or biorhythms are regulated variables that change predictably and create repeated patterns or cycles of change. The timing of many biorhythms coincides with predictable environmental changes such as daily light-dark cycles or changes in season. All animals exhibit some form of daily biological rhythm, also called circadian rhythm. Humans have circadian rhythms for many body functions, including blood pressure, body temperature, and metabolic processes. In the figure on your slide, you have 2 graphs representing the 24-hour cycle for both temperature and cortisol.
Okay.
Body temperature controls many body cycles. Body temperature peaks in the late afternoon and declines dramatically in the early hours of the morning. Cortisol is an essential steroid hormone secreted by the adrenal gland and acts like an alarm clock. Cortisol peaks in the mornings to get us moving and declines in the evening so we can have a good night's sleep.
Okay. Easy peasy, easy peasy. So let's see, biological rhythms. So we can sum up biological rhythm as a phrase often used interchangeably with the circadian rhythm, not cycle, my bad. These rhythms are a series of bodily functions regulated by your internal clock. They control cycles like sleep, wakefulness, body temperature, hormone secretion, and more. Okay, so pretty much, your biological clock! And so these are just examples of what you can do within your biological or internal clock. So again, as she had mentioned about the body temperature, of how you really can't necessarily control it. Obviously there's outside factors like, oh, your AC or fan is on, or oh, maybe it's not. And that again will determine, but if you had none of those like external factors affecting, your body will still get colder when it is at night or when it's dark, and then it would become very high at noon. They always say as well, when you're outside, noon is normally the hottest, so if you have to do anything, try to do it before noon or like towards the evening if you don't want to like suffer from the heat or the sun. And then the other one is going to be just relating to the cortisone, a hormone, and how that's kind of released throughout the time. Alright, more graphs about homeostasis. Again, homeostasis being our balance. So let's kind of go through this graph together, okay? So the organism's in homeostasis, so this can happen, or the next thing that can happen is an external change, or it's going to be the internal change. The cortisone? No, no. I was like, wait, Paus, what's the cortisone? Oh, cortisone. I hate it here. Either way, some kind of change happens. External change or internal change. So the internal change results in loss of homeostasis. The organism attempts to compensate. So you can either compensate and it fails, or it's going to succeed. If it fails, you basically become ill or have some kind of type of disease obtained from that because your body's unable to maintain its balance. Or you succeed and then you have wellness, so congratulations. Let's go. Good body. Big Ham. Hi. Welcome. Let me give you a shout out. Welcome. We're learning about pathophysiology. So we're learning basically about how your body functions and how it should normally function, and then hopefully later we'll get to the fun like diseases that we're all grateful that we don't have. And wish the best for those who do have it. Yes. Hope the study session's going well. It is. I'm almost done with our first PowerPoint. So I have 3. I was taking my sweet booty time with the first one just because I don't know, this is your intro, so I feel like if we have a solid foundation, the next 2 or 3 might be more review of like the human body. So pause cross, you know. But thank you. I hope everything's going super well. Yeah. So now that we studied or understand the definition of physiology, again, that's going to be determining what is our normal function and how to kind of keep that. Let's talk about what class I'm actually in and the topic that we're going to be studying if we have more study streams in addition to gross anatomy. So pathophysiology. So the term patho, or the prefix patho, you may have heard of it from like pathogen or pathological diseases, all that good stuff. Or bad stuff. Patho's not, it's not a good term. So the definition of pathophysiology is going to be the disorder physiological processes associated with disease or injury. So this can kind of occur in various ways. It can occur formatting. It can occur intrinsically or extrinsically. Pathogenesis, so it can kind of happen on its own with no origin. It can also occur from incident prevalence that may be happening, kind of like a pandemic. We have the diagnosis, we have the prognosis. The difference between, by the way, diagnosis and prognosis, because this bothered me for a long time, I wasn't quite sure. What? Hi, welcome. Oh wait, Big Cam, okarinasaimashou. What? Okarinasaimashou. Happy Maid Day to the both of you, by the way. Thank you. Arigatou gozaimasu. Okay, so diagnosis. Wow. Happy Maid Day. Thank you. So diagnosis is basically like, oh, you have the flu. Dummy. You have all the symptoms of the flu, you got the flu. That's your diagnosis. Your prognosis, on the other hand, that's gonna be basically how likely are you to recover. Yeah, you're young at heart and you rarely get sick. I'm sure you'll recover in a few days. You'll be fine. Some people have obviously good prognosis when they get their diagnosis, and other people may not have as good of a prognosis. So bigger. Karinasaimasen. Hi Seth. Hi. Welcome. Happy Maid Day. Welcome. Big Cam, I assume you saw Orahack's art? Isn't Orahack the one who just drew all those bunny suits? I'm not hip and up to date with the mutuals of my artists. Let's see, hold on. Let's see. Sorry, now I'm checking. She drew a lot of bun suits. They're all so cute. Oh, I do like their Maid Day. Hello. Politely copies and pastes it. politely links. Cute. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, no problem. Wow. So clinical manifestations pretty much of pathophysiology, if you were to have some kind of disease or disorder, or the patient or person that you're looking at may have, they may obviously show some signs and symptoms. So like, again, oh no, they're coughing, they're wheezing. Oh no, this is not normal. Oh my gosh, it's the emo in live action. In the flesh, in the pixels. Happy Made to be a Maid Day. Oh, cute. Okarinasaimasa, Atomic. Hi, welcome. Happy Maid Day. Made to be here, you know. This stream was made to be. Welcome. Oh, I actually don't know what this word means. Sequela. Let's see. It looks like the word sequence, so let's see.
Sequelae.
What?
Sequelae.
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 Let's see. What does sequelae? Sequelae. What does it mean? A pathological condition resulting from a disease, injury, therapy, or other trauma. Huh? Huh? Sequelae. Some conditions may be diagnosed retrospectively from their sequelae. An example is... Oh, can you give me a baby example? I actually don't know what this means. Oh, other examples include those following neurological injury, including aphasia. Oh no, wait, what? I actually do not understand. Hold. Alright, Wikipedia, don't disappoint me now. We're gonna break down this term really quick because my brain is dummy thick. No, hold on. Let's make this a little bit smaller too. So, sequelae can be defined as the pathological condition resulting from a disease, injury, therapy, or other trauma, derived from the Latin word meaning sequel. Go! Brain expansion stream, let's go! Okay, thank you so very much for the tier 1 sub for 6 hecky months. Thank you for your support as a sugar bear for half a year. I appreciate you very, very, very much. Arigatou gozaimasu. Yeah, I'm trying to expand my my brain and my vocabulary right now. So okay, so yeah, it does derive from the word sequel. It's used in the medical field to mean a complication or condition following a prior illness or disease. Oh, okay, the sequence. So if you're diagnosed with something and another condition follows, that is your sequelae. Is there a good example? Ooh. Oh no. Okay, cuz I have to provide a real life example because Winky is actually hitting off really quick. So there's two examples. So we can use one not as applicable, I guess? Maybe. I don't know. So sequelae of traumatic brain injury can include like headache, dizziness, anxiety, apathy, depression, personality changes, mania, or psychosis. Sequelae can be really important in a sense to understand of the following conditions you may get for a current world event disease such as COVID. So it turns out that a lot of people who may have COVID or has recently recovered from COVID get this thing kind of like a brain fog. Symptoms actually drastically range from like mild to like severe kind of brain fog, but also normally like shortness of breath or loss of smell and pretty much feeling more tired than they were previously, even if they may not have the disease and have recovered. So that is your sequelae. Alright. Other clinical manifestations from pathophysiology from disease or injury is that you can have some complications from it, and also there can be a resolution. There can be a cure for some of these, not all of these. So let us describe the phases of disease or medical conditions. So I don't remember the time frame of it, so let's read it and maybe find the exact time frame and hope for the best, okay? So you may have heard of these fancy words before, like acute or chronic diseases, but have you heard of subacute? So acute normally means short term. So acute has a relatively rapid onset and short duration. The condition that responds to a specific treatment is called self-limiting. With no complication, there is a full recovery. So like acute can last, I think, for a few weeks. I think subacute, which is going to be present for longer than a few days but less than several months, I think it has to be less than 6 months. It's pretty much your kind of transition from acute or chronic. It can either get worse or it can get better, but because it's been happening longer than a few days, and I believe, again, the specific time range is less than 6 months, your condition can be subacute. So something is, let's say back pain. Ow, I did something weird with my back the other day, and ow, 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 my back hurts. I'm gonna, place ice and kind of hope for the best and not move that way ever again. So you rest up and it heals. Maybe you just like pulled something and it wasn't super severe. That is something we'll consider acute. While subacute, it's going to be like, okay, it's been happening, but it hasn't been more than a year. And chronic, this is where you will hear a lot of people having a chronic low back pain. So chronic can be defined as long lasting. It's gonna follow the acute and subacute stages. Chronic doesn't come out of nowhere. There is a beginning. It can include permanent impairment or disability requiring special rehab or long-term medical management. And a syndrome, by the way, is going to be a group of signs and symptoms that occur together and characterize a specific disorder or disease. So, what is a good example of a syndrome? Heck, I have to think about this. Anyway. Monte, hi, welcome. Okarinasaima-san, happy Maid Day. And hi, Game Overlord, hi, welcome. Okarinasaima-san to you as well. Welcome. Reading the description is a little scary. Yeah, everything's a little scary. But basically, acute, subacute, chronic is like, is it short? Is it medium? Is it long? Wow. Overlord says, probably not a good time to say. I just beat SMT4. Was a decent 7.2 out of 10. Wait, how do we determine the decimal? How do we determine, yeah, it's a 7.2. I can understand 7.5, so it wasn't that good. Wasn't good enough for a 7.5? Hello? Either way, I appreciate you. Feel free to stop by anytime. I appreciate you. I see you, and have fun with your post-party SMT4 game celebration. Disco says, how do you get a recording of me talking about my Disco, it's because it's me. I'm talking about all of us. But I'm so sorry. I hope your back definitely does get better. There's certain things that you're able to do, and hopefully it's not too serious. So I won't disclose this person. But there is a cub that I know of who may be getting to the subacute. If not, they're already in the subacute phase of their low back pain. What happens is that, excuse me, this is gonna get super serious, so I apologize. Let me also breathe and do my posture check though. Hold on. And big breath. 1, 2. Wait, let me hydrate too. Heck, hold on. I'm doing a self-care check. Free hydrate redeem. Drink water if you haven't already either. Okay, gamers? Galmers? Oh, okay. One moment. Okay. Nice Maid Study stream. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's not bad for a 7, but not good enough for 7.5. So getting 7.25 is not a good number. So 7.2. But if you get 7.25, at that point, wouldn't you round to 7.3? But then it feels even more awkward because then you should have just rounded at that point to 7.5, you know? Everyone checking their backs right now? Honestly, that's how I felt when I was doing the gait study stream from like, oh god, like a year ago. So I had a whole study stream dedicated to how people should walk. There's like a certain way, like you have to do like a heel off, toe off, get your hips and your knees and your ankles in a certain kind of degree of motion and flexion. Yeah, it was kind of a pain in the butt. And hopefully we'll get to talk about it soon. Oh, it's an old dirt bike injury, so probably stuck with it? No. So, let me explain the story of one of the cubs. So, they were talking about their back to me, and what happens is that they're probably most likely in the subacute phase because it's been happening for more than a few days and has been lasting a few months with their back injury. So they apparently went to the doctor, and what happened is that their back is fine. Like, they took an x-ray, and they're like, oh yeah, your bones are aligned, you're good, you know? But the more I've been studying into the medical field, maybe this cub may have some kind of nerve issue or like nerve pinching, and why it's important to maybe obtain an MRI, because x-rays are only going to show you bones. And if you didn't break a bone, of course the doctor is going to be like, yeah, you're okay, don't worry, bud. But the MRI is going to see the nerves, and you know, you have these nerves pinching through these foramens or the holes in your spine. And one of the bones may just be pushing on it, which is why sometimes you may experience some sharp pain with your back. It's just kind of like a quick nerve pinch. There is studies, and hence like things like physical therapy or like exercise can help really alleviate these symptoms, because kind of stretching your back will help alleviate the pressure. But yeah, if you need some serious medical help, do go see your doctor if you have the opportunity. I know insurance I know insurance is definitely a luxury, so if you do have it, please do take advantage of it. But yeah, yay! What's an example of a syndrome? Cool syndromes. Wait, isn't alien hand a syndrome? Alien hand syndrome. Yes, let's go. Canada, so no insurance? But doctor's scared. Wait, what do you mean no insurance in Canada? I thought, what? Everything I know is a lie. Doctor is scary, but you just gotta find the right one. Your health is more important. Your health is very important. Only you are gonna take care of you, hacker. Anyway. So, this is a really interesting disorder that I had talked about in like a really old study stream called the alien hand syndrome. And it's basically kind of how it sounds. The alien hand syndrome is a phenomenon in which one hand is not controlled under the mind. So pretty much it kind of acts on its own. So let's say you wanted just to raise your right arm up. It won't happen, basically. That's it. I'm so sorry. It'll kind of move and grab and do whatever the heck it wants. You really have no control of it. Hey, LMAO. Like, you know when people are possessed and their arm starts moving like that certain way? It's basically you being possessed. But, it's a syndrome because it's a set of symptoms that you'll have, and usually people with this alien hand syndrome are going to be people who have stroke or trauma or tumor. It can sometimes be associated with like cancer and like other neural degenerative diseases, or maybe even brain aneurysms, but it's a little rare. It's a little rare. You don't have to worry about some alien coming into your brain being LMAO. Evil Dead 2 arm syndrome. Yes, exactly. But yeah, so moving on. So we can do modifiable risk factors. So yes, you are more likely to get a disease or disorder if you are smoking, if you have high blood pressure, if you're physically inactive. It can be due to a certain diet or maybe your weight. But these are all, as the category says, modifiable. You can decrease your risk for certain diseases if you do modify these things, or if you stop it altogether. How do you say it? Smoking is one of those big things that if you needed surgery, you would need to stop doing smoking, because your chances, or your prognosis, again, the word that we had just used to say how well you may or may not recover, will be decreased if you're smoking, because of like bone density and blah 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 blah. Don't smoke. So some non-modifiable risk factors that you'll have is that unfortunately, just some diseases and disorders are just prone to certain factors. It can be your age, your gender, your family history, or your ethnicity. So certain ages, of course, are more prone to more things. Like, it's very not as common for younger people to get cancer, but older people, the more that we live longer, the more we're seeing cancer, and of course we're seeing more of this cancer in older folk. The gender, there's some disorders that may affect males more or females more. Family history is just kind of like, even I guess we can use the genetic example that we had earlier. And then ethnicity, it all depends. Something about like older white women are more prone to something, and I actually do not recall. And something about different ethnicities having different bone densities, and I think that's what it was. Like, older white ladies have more frail bones, so they have a lower bone density, and they're more likely to like break their bones if they were to do a fall. That's why I guess you see like those elderly white ladies in those commercials. Reduce your risk factor of health problems by being forever 17. You know, I forget how cringe I could be IRL, right? And I did the laugh in front of my coworker because we were both like joking around, and I'm like, you know, I don't want to be here. I want to get out early, so I'm gonna grab this, you know. And I started going, and she's like, Tiffanya, your laugh is contagious. I'm like, I'm sorry. But I'm glad. Please be forever 17, or at least make lifestyle changes that would make you feel like forever 17, you know? Huh? Genetic getting my throat someday? I feel, yeah. I'm waiting for some other genetic things to kick my booty one day. Upon realizing it, Tippa politely went dies. That's what I would do. I would feel so bad if I ever got caught in some emergency that is basically really highly inconveniencing my life, aka I'm dying. I would call whoever and I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I'm actually dying right now. That's just the honest truth. I'm trying to provide it as politely as possible. I am politely nice. I can imagine Tippa doing that. I feel like I do the face too and everything. It's just like I can't. Anyway. Gremlin Bearcat, honestly. Anyway, oh my goodness. She's a character. I'm not in character. I am a character, but anyway. So the role of what we can do as like healthcare professionals or anyone interested in the health field is to understand that once we understand these other aspects that we have reviewed to our PowerPoint, is to understand the ICF model, the International Classification of Functioning, Disability, and Health. The ICF model is going to be to describe how people live with their health condition, and it defines the level of functioning, disability, and health for the health condition being described or evaluated. So, let's say your health condition is you do have low back pain. Excuse me. Body functions or structures that are going to be affected, it's going to be, well, your back muscles, whatever they may be bone as well, maybe nerve. How does that affect your activities? Like, oh, I have problems going up the stairs, or sitting for long periods of time help relieve or maybe even worsen my condition. And how do those activities affect your participation in the world? Maybe you're not able to stand or sit for long periods of time because your back hurts. There's also other factors we consider, like environmental and personal factors. Environmental factors can be like, do you live with other people? Do you have like a support system? Is it convenient for you to get around? What is your lifestyle? Do you commute to work? Do you work? La la la. And personal factors can be like those modifiable risk factors that we talked about earlier, like, hey, do you smoke? Do you have high blood pressure? Are you underweight? Are you overweight? Are you normal range? Etc. So here's a little quick summary, okay? So Physiological is basically integrative science. The physiological processes are understood by their function and mechanisms. There are 4 themes in physiology. Homeostasis maintains a relatively constant internal environment, and local and reflex pathways trigger responses and have feedback mechanisms, which can be either positive or negative. Again, our negative is trying to stop it and make everything back to normal, while positive will make it super excessive. Regulated variables have a set point and a normal range. Pathologies result from a compensation failure, so if we're unable to compensate or get back to that homeostasis, we most likely will have a disorder, disease, or injury, illness, whatever. Basically, we're not going to be doing too well if we're not able to get that homeostasis. And make sure that as health professionals, we can use the ICF model when dealing with our patients. It's really important to, yes, you may have low back pain, but you're not a patient with low back pain. You're John Doe, the cub who enjoys a Tippanya study stream. You're more than just your condition, basically. I love to see the animated like that lizard kid. Oh no, you mean the, oh my goodness. Is it like the little iguana laugh? Oh, like this, right? Hold on. Like this lizard, right? Oh my goodness! Hi! Okarina Simon-san! Got a tip in your stream again? It's been so long. It's been 500 years. Hi! Welcome. Congratulations on your newest milestone. I forget the number, but I saw your post. So congratulations! Wait, it's a GIF? Wait, no. I've never seen the GIF of this. Wait, laughing iguana GIF. Thank you so much. Yeah, no problem. Wait, why does it move like a puppet? Oh no, I have to click on it. Okay, my poor PowerPoint. Alright. So one of the biggest things I wanted to do is, now that we're done with the first PowerPoint, let's go back over our objectives and let's see if we can answer this, you know? So, define physiology and discuss the levels of organization. So physiology, again, is going to be the study of normal function, while pathophysiology is going to be the study of abnormal function, like a disease and illness. We could talk about the levels of discussion, but basically just know it includes like the organs and the organ systems and the cells and probably something else. Sorry, I'm sure they're super important. Here, we can look at it again. The physiology in itself is going to contain molecules, cells, tissue, organs, organ systems, organisms, and the populations of one species. So, you know, humans! And it's subdivided into little, again, categories of like your chemistry, molecular biology, cell biology, physiology, and the ecology. Or ecology? Ecology? Heck. So review the 10 organ systems. So, oh god, can I remember them? Let's try to see if we can count this off. So we have your integumentary system, which is going to be, you know, the barriers such as like your skin, your hair, your nails, etc. Then we have your musculoskeletal. From there, I think it was like digestive, respiratory, reproductive, urinary system. We have endocrine system, nervous system, circulatory system, and immune system. I think that's all 10. Wow. Compare mechanistic and teleological explanations. So the tele one is going to be why it happens, and the mechanistic is going to be how it happens. So again, it's going to be our example of the red blood cell. Why it happens is for the red blood cell to why does red blood cell carry oxygen, it's because it needs to deliver it to other cells because those cells need oxygen. But how? What's the mechanistic explanation for it? It's because red blood cells again have the hemoglobin to allow oxygen to bind and allow it to kind of carry it out. Identify the 4 major themes. Oh, okay, I completely forgot this. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yamba. Alright, I'm looking at the notes now. So basically, the 4 major themes. Oh no, I clicked away. Is to know that the structure and functions are closely related. That living organisms need energy. So again, why it's important to eat and whatnot. Information flow coordinates to the body function. So again, we talked about the DNA coding certain things in our body, you know, hair color, eye color, etc. And that information coordinates with the body function of what we have. And our last theme is going to be homeostasis, maintaining that internal stability, our balance, so we can avoid illness. Ashley, welcome back, welcome back. Making food now. I'm happy to see the studying going well. It is. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm glad you got home safe. Welcome. Or, okirinasaimasen. Times 2. Or as my dad would say, it's Simple Flips. Shout out to Simple Flips. Hold on. I love that guy. Anyway. Define homeostasis and discuss the importance in the human body. Well, we just kind of went over that. Define the different types of control systems. I am actually not sure what it's asking here. Is it asking for like the graph about like the stimulus and then the integration system and then the signal and then the response? I think that would be the best way to kind of describe this. Differentiate between positive and negative feedback. Okay, we talked about this as well. Positive is going to reinforce that behavior, while negative feedback is going to, try to cancel it out. Explain set points and biological rhythm. So, I don't think we really talked about set points. I don't think that was even really described. I might go back and hear the lecture out. But we did talk about biological rhythms, and it's basically things we can't control. It's just stuff in our internal clock. We define pathophysiology as, again, the study of abnormal function for diseases and whatnot. And last but not least, define the role of a PT in evaluating and treating patients with health conditions. It's the idea that we want to treat people as not just their conditions, but as a person, because they definitely have a life outside their condition. Alright, and with that, we're done with the first chapter. Ta-da! I'm actually pretty happy with that. So we'll move on to the second one, okay? I'm gonna take a little baby break if you don't mind. I'm literally just gonna stand up for my poor legs. Thankfully I'm not blunt to like, what? Wait, what did I just say? Thankfully I'm not prone to blood clots, but your girl can sit for like 8 to 16 hours with no problems and be like, yes, comfy. Drink some water? Yes, I'm gonna go grab some more water too. Let me just open up the next PowerPoint if you don't mind, okay? So, we'll do a little quick preview and then I'll do a little BRB. I'm gonna hydrate when I BRB. Alright, so this is kind of slightly out of order. I spent way too long looking for this. You're fine. So now that we're done with our intro, we're going to talk about physiological of cells, tissues, and organs. So there's a part 1 and there's a part 2. And there's a head pat. Thank you. I appreciate that. And we'll talk about our body compartments, and we're just going to be talking about the cell. Ooh, so interesting. Yep, that's all I got for ya. Alright, let me stand up, get some water, and do all that bearcat stuff. I'll put a little raffle, and then I'll see you guys in maybe literally probably like 2 to 3 minutes, I promise. I love Perfect Cell. He's pretty pog. Alright, leave your dummy stuff alone, your nerdy stuff alone. I will BRB. Heck yeah. Eshi, no. Eshi, no. Don't do it. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. I don't even know if I have anything to gamble. Hold on. Your voice ain't that funny. I'm glad. Do I even have anything? I had a lot. Oh no. Okay. Anyway. Mason T. Thanks, I guess. Big Ham, let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Oh my goodness! Where? Oh my gosh! Thank you. I appreciate you. Ah. Thank you. Everyone's super generous today. Holy heck! This is also Eshi's and Robozonos. Oh, thank you, Big Ham, and indirectly thank you, Robo, and thank you, Eshi. Anyway. Well, welcome back. Sorry, everyone. I took a little bit longer break. I was really enjoying the standing and petting my cat. She was so comfy and I feel so bad because I had to go out to the kitchen to grab some water and she follows me and I'm like, please no. So, we'll see. What? Anyway, so let's get back to it, okay? So right now, again, we're going to be focusing on the physiological aspects of the cells, tissues, and organs, part 1. So here's going to be some of our objectives. So we're going to be able to describe the functional compartments of the body, discuss biological membrane, there's my cursor, discuss the organization of an animal cell. We're going to describe more detail about the intracellular compartments and their function, and describe the primary tissue types and their characteristics. From there, we will describe the extracellular matrix, discuss cell-to-cell and cell-to-matrix junctions, and cell adhesion molecules. We will describe the different types of connective tissue, and we will then also name and describe the organ system of the body, okay? Please. Pet the cat, totally worthy, honestly. The powerhouse of the cell, I hope we talk about it. If not, I want a refund of this whole entire course. School's a scam anyway, so whatever. Anyway. So, the body has specialized mechanics to transport materials across compartments. So if we have to kind of talk about it, our body can be divided into 2 compartments. We could talk about the anatomical compartment, our body cavities, which can be... Can I blow up this image a little bit more? Hold on. That's fine. Ashia will return? No problem. If you're gonna go eat, have a good one, okay? Thank you. I wait for your return, Goshijin-sama. Anyway, let's see. So, anatomical body cavities. So we have like your cranial what? A cranial cavity. We have your thoracic cavity, which can be divided by pleural sac, which is right here, or the pericardial sac. So pleural sac is going to be referring to our lungs right here, and the pericardial sac is going to be referring to our heart. We can have our diaphragm, which is a separate cavity on its own. Diaphragm is pretty important. Innervated by C3, C4, C5, keeps the diaphragm alive. And the diaphragm is going to be one of those muscles, or the main muscle that helps us with inspiration. And not just like mental inspiration, like inspiration as in the way that you breathe. And we also have the abdominal pelvic cavity, which can be divided into your abdominal cavity or your pelvic cavity right here. From there, the body compartments can also be divided into functional, the body fluid compartments right here. So we can have your extracellular fluid or your intracellular fluid. So for the extracellular fluid, or the ECF, that's going to be lying outside the cell. Hence the word extra versus intra. Extra is going to be outside. From there, it's going to be subdivided into blood plasma and interstitial fluid. The blood plasma is going to be the extracellular fluid inside the blood vessels. So right here, and that's what happens when people donate plasma. Located right here, baby. And the interstitial fluid, it's gonna surround most of the cell. So ooh, you see this, it's a little hard to see, but it's definitely a different color right here, this darker blue or purple that you see right here, even gray, I guess. Use your imagination with the colors. The body's just full of sacs, honestly. So when anyone ever calls you like, I don't know, a potato sack, just be like, yes, you are correct. I am more than just a potato sack, though. I am a cranial cavity sac. I am a pleural sac. I am a pericardial sac. I don't think anyone uses like potato sac anymore as like a insult or a comment anymore. Forever 17. Anyway, so the intracellular fluid, you're gonna have your fat cell, your ovum, your red blood cells, your white blood cells, your smooth muscles, and these cells can be subdivided into intracellular compartments within these organisms. So from there, let's look at the functional compartments a little bit more into detail and see how it can be separated by the membranes. So we just saw the pericardial sac. Pericardial, again, is going to be the sac or the membrane that's going to surround your heart, hence peri, which I believe is the prefix for surround, and cardial, which refers to the cardiac muscle, which refers to the heart. The pericardial sac is the tissue that surrounds the heart. From there, as seen magnified, the pericardial membrane is a layer of flattened cells supported by connective tissue. These tissue membranes have many cells. From there, each cell of the pericardial membrane has a cell membrane surrounding that. So here's the cell, and then this is the outline, which is going to be the cell membrane surrounding it. And that membrane is going to be a phospholipid bilayer that's going to help create the cell membrane around the cell. The cell membrane is a phospholipid bilayer. So I don't know if you recall this from your biology or your anatomy or any kind of life science course that you may have taken in high school or undergrad. But phospholipid bilayers, this is where you have like the hydrophobic and hydrophilic aspects of it, and the reason why these are inside is because these are hydrophobic, I believe. Yeah, that would make sense, right? Because they don't want to be outside in the water, while these are hydrophilic and they love the water. They love the water that you get in the matrix, you know? But they're like, oh no, we're scared, so we gotta stay close together. Alright, from there, the cell membrane. No! The cell membrane, basically the physical isolation, it can be the barrier separating from the internal. Hold on. Hold. I thought I deleted everything. I didn't. Okay, holding. Thank you. Alright. Holding. Alright, okay. Cell membrane. Cell membrane, as we saw, it was made by those phospholipids. Again, we had the hydrophobic and the hydrophilic. So the cell membrane is going to help with several things. It's going to help with physical isolation, exchange material, communication, and structural support. For physical isolation, it's going to be a barrier separating the ICF and the ECF membranes. Matrices. So a barrier separating the intracellular fluid matrix and the extracellular fluid matrix. From there, it can also exchange material. From exchanging material, it's going to exchange the material with the environment that is controlled. I don't recall if this is where like the sodium and potassium pump come in, and it allows certain like ions to come in and out. I'm pretty sure, but we'll talk about it later if it's definitely relevant. The cell membrane also allows for communication. For communication, the cell membrane contains proteins that enable cell to recognize and respond to changes in the environment. And the cell membrane will also provide structural support. Proteins in the cell membrane hold the cytoskeleton in place, which is going to create specialized junctions between cells and cell to extracellular matrix. So again, those four things: physical isolation, exchange material, communicate with the outside world, and have that structural support to keep everything in place and create these special junctions. Alright, from here, let's talk about the biological membrane. So much, but I'm sure we can do it. So again, this is our phospholipid bilayer, the cell membrane. So let's see. Cholesterol. Cholesterol is impermeable to small water. Impermeable to small water soluble molecules and keeps the membrane flexible. So where can we see the cholesterol? Will it point it out to us? No. But we'll go through the graph and we'll relay the information back and forth. The membrane carbohydrates, it's going to form a protective layer. They attach to both lipids and proteins. Oh, hello, peace. Alright, transmembrane proteins are integral proteins that span the phospholipid layer and can act as a pathway or transporter for ions and molecules. So far we have cholesterol, we have carbohydrates, we have proteins, and then we have another set of proteins, the peripheral proteins, which is going to be responsible for cell recognition and immune response. So the cell membrane, according to this diagram that we have here, it's going to consist of cholesterol, which again is going to be impermeable to small water-soluble molecules, so it keeps the membrane flexible. Phospholipids, carbohydrates, which we just saw right here, that's going to help form that protective layer, and the proteins, which we have several. We have ones that are going to help as a pathway or transporter for ions and molecules, and it's also going to be responsible for cell recognition and immune response. If you put cholesterol and phospholipids together, it's going to form a lipid bilayer. This lipid bilayer is going to function as a selective barrier between the cytosol and the external environment. Okay? From there, let's see, one moment. From there, the phospholipids and carbohydrates together will form glycolipids. And the carbohydrates and proteins together will form the glycoproteins. Together, these are going to help function as structural stability to keep that membrane, stable. Cell recognition to recognize what goes in and out, and to allow for immune response, because again, this is a protective barrier. You can't just let anything in. So for intracellular compartments, the cell is going to be composed of three things: your cell membrane, your nucleus, and the cytoplasm. Nucleus, cytoplasm, cell membrane. Woo, basic biology, let's go! So the cytoplasm is going to be further divided. From here, it's going to be the cytosol, the membranous organelles such as the mitochondria, the endoplasmic reticulum, the Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, and periosteums. To be honest, I don't remember. I know mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. I'll double check. The Golgi apparatus, that's the one to help transport. Lysosomes, I believe, eat up the bad things. And periosteums, I actually do not recall, flat out. But we'll politely check it out. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. So we have inclusions. From there, we have lipid droplets, glycogranules, and ribosomes. And then the cytoplasm is also going to consist of protein fibers, the cytoskeleton, centrioles, cilia, and flagella. Alright? The intracellular compartments continued. So these inclusions that we just talked about, the lipid droplets, glycogen granules, and ribosomes, these are going to be particles of insoluble material. These things are not going to dissolve. They're going to be stored nutrients, or they're going to be consisting of stored nutrients, the glycogranules and the lipid droplets, and the ribosomes can be either free-floating, or fixed. There's no cell membrane in these. It's going to be passive transport, so it kind of pretty much goes with the flow and the waves. Maybe in the future we'll talk about the gradient of how it's very easy to go from high to low rather than low to high. For example, it's much easier to roll down a hill going from high to low than climbing up a hill from low to high. The cytoplasm, like we said, is going to consist of some protein fibers. These protein fibers are going to be, again, your cytoskeleton, the centrioles, cilia, and flagella. And then you have your organelles, these lists that we just had talked about in the previous slide. These are going to be membrane-bound compartments with specific functions. So again, powerhouse of the cell, let's go. So let's talk about the cytoskeleton a little bit more. So the cytoskeleton is made of cytoplasm proteins. So we have your microvilli right here. That's going to increase the surface area, which are supported by the microfilaments, which is just right down here. The microfilaments are going to form a network just inside the cell membrane. Ooh. The microtubules are going to be the largest cytoskeleton fibers. And the intermediate filaments include myosin and keratin. Yeah, well, I'll listen to that lecture in a little bit. So we have again the mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, the ER, and the nucleus. Oh, okay, so yeah, lysosomes are small spherical storage vesicles that contain powerful digestive enzymes, so they just munch away. And the periosteums are going to contain enzymes that break down fatty acids in some foreign material, so this is going to be like your protective measure. Okay, so this is going to break it down. So, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, and the reason why that's such a meme is because it's the only thing we remember, but also because it's super important in playing the role of ATP production, of how we get our energy. And the thing with mitochondria in itself is that it's the site of the most ATP synthesis in the cell. Not most. Yeah, wait, yeah, most. Our ER, or the endoplasmic reticulum, is going to be a network of interconnected membrane tubes that are a continuation of the outer nucleus membrane. So we have this can be divided into two categories. From ER, we can either have it rough ER, or we can have a smooth ER. The rough ER is going to be right here. You see these like little dots that it has right here? It's going to have a granular appearance due to the rows of ribosomes dotting the cytoplasmic surface. The smooth one is going to like those for the smooth endoplasmic reticulum is going to lack ribosomes, and it's going to appear super smooth like this. You see, this is the granulated appearance, this is the not so granulated appearance. It's baby soft, baby smooth. The rough ER, however, is going to be the main site of protein synthesis. The smooth one is going to synthesize lipids, so you know, the little fatty stuff, and some cells, concentrates, and stores calcium ions. So again, the rough ER is going to produce proteins, while the smooth one is going to produce more like lipids. The Golgi apparatus I summed up as kind of like your packaging or mail system. The Golgi apparatus is going to consist of a series of hollow curved sacs called cisternae, which is going to stack on top of one another and be surrounded by vesicles. The Golgi apparatus participates in protein modification and packaging. So yeah, a little post office. Your nucleus is going to be surrounded by a double membrane nuclear envelope, which we can see right here. It's even a little small on my screen, so I apologize. Nuclear envelope, whoop, right there. Both membranes of the envelope are pierced here and there by pores to allow communication with the cytoplasm, so what is surrounding the nucleus. The outer membrane of the nuclear envelope connects the ER membrane. In cells that are not dividing, the nucleus appears filled with random scattered granular material composed of DNA and proteins. Usually a nucleus also contains 1 to 4 larger dark stained bodies of DNA, RNA, and protein called nuclei. Nuclei? Yes. And from there, this is going to be our second to last slide. So we have the cilia and flagella. This is basically how how cells and other things will move, because they have this little stringy tail thing that kind of whips around and helps them move about. So this is cilia on the surface of some respiratory epithelium. So it's just a fancy word for fun movement string on respiratory layer surface. Both of these move because of their microtubercle connections. So these are going to have 9 pairs of microtubercles, which are going to be surrounding a central pair. So here you go. It looks like a little, what is this candy? Oh, it looks like a Twizzler. I guess, kind of, if you use your imagination. And so because it's surrounding the central pair, the beating of both of these is going to create fluid movement. So we see with the flagellum, it's going to be like this, while the cilia is going to be more like a tail whip. Wah, 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 wah. Oh no. Oh no. Alright, so let's talk about protein synthesis, because I guess will I make this bigger? I hope this is okay. So protein synthesis and subcellular compartmentation. Can I zoom in here? Ooh. So let's just go through the steps, and we'll definitely recite this in a little bit. So number 1, mRNA is transcribed from genes into DNA. So mRNA is just transcribed from genes in the DNA. So DNA is like, go. mRNA leaves the nucleus, so this is our nucleus, it is leaving, and attaches to cytosolic ribosomes, initiating protein synthesis. Excuse me. So we see right here the little green things attaching to the ribosomes. So from here, step 3. Some proteins are released by free ribosomes, because remember we have free or fixed. Some proteins are released by the free ribosomes into the cytosol or are targeted to specific organelles. So these proteins can just go elsewhere or go into like specific structures like our mitochondria. If it's not being released in that way, we go back to our step 2 and we go to step 4. So the mRNA is again attaching to the ribosomes, and from there the ribosomes attach to the rough ER. It attaches to the rough ER's direct proteins that are destined for packaging through the rough ER. From there, the proteins are modified as they pass through the lumen of the ER. So like right here, it passes through here. Whoop. From there, it kind of gets bubbled out or packaged out. This is going to be called the transport vesicle, and the transport vesicle moves the proteins from the ER to the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi is going to migrate towards the cell membrane, so we're going to go through whoop, 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 whoop. 8 right here. Some vesicles butt off this and move into the retrograde. Or whoa, they do? Oh, that's so interesting. So sometimes, even though we're trying to get through this process and get out of the Golgi apparatus, sometimes it's like, actually no, I want to go back. So it's saying right here in number 8 that it will either retrograde or move in a backwards fashion. So you see, whoop, rather than going down the arrow. So going to step 9, once we're right here, some vesicles butt off to form lysosomes or storage vesicles. So whoop, extra protein for a rainy day. And then from 10, other vesicles become secretory, secretion-based vesicles that release their contents outside the cell. And so from here, this is again all our intracellular stuff with our nucleus and the cytoplasm and our internal cellular fluid, but some of the vesicles are going to go whoop and out to the world into the extracellular fluid and do its job from there. And with that, that is going to be our third PowerPoint, or not third PowerPoint, but our second. And now we can move on to our last PowerPoint. Heck, I did not go over the objectives, so oh, the biggest heck, I closed out of it. It's like a hardcore close. No! Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Hold on. Sam, hi, welcome. Curb dance. Oh, sorry, it's Maid Day. Okarina Saimasan! Happy Maid Day. Let me fix this, hold on. Big Alright, let's do this. So now let's focus on part 2. So now we're going to focus on the extracellular matrix, while the other portion we were talking more about compartments and the intracellular stuff. So let's go from there, shall we? So the composition and mechanical properties vary in tissue types. So we have the epithelial, the connective, muscle, and neural. Synthesized and secreted by cells of a tissue can be our proteoglycans or our insoluble protein fibers such as collagen, fibronectin, and laminin. The consistency can vary for an extracellular matrix. And again, extracellular matrix, again, we break down the name, literally anything outside our cell. Consistency, again, will vary. It can be watery, like blood and lymphs, or it can be rigid, like bone. And the extracellular matrix is going to play a vital role in many physiological processes. So let's get to learning, okay? So, we have your cell junctions, which I will politely just go through the graph. No, I can't go through the graph because I'm not familiar with the membrane protein. Should we hear her out? Nah, I'll hear her out later. Tomorrow I'm dedicating as my study day, so I'm like, ah. But let's see. Cell junctions. Cell junctions connect one cell with another cell or to surrounding matrix. Oh no, it's cut off. Hold on. There you go. Cell junctions connect one cell with another cell or to a surrounding matrix with membrane-spanning proteins called cell adhesion molecules, or CAMs. This map shows the many ways cell junctions can be categorized. So it can either be communicating, occluding, or anchoring. And from there, we'll kind of go from there. It looks like our next one is going to be talking about the cell-to-cell junction. So let's kind of break it down then. So communicating, occluding, or anchoring can all become either... Not all of them, I'm so sorry. Communicating and occluding can become cell-to-cell junctions, while communicating, occluding, and anchoring can also become cell-to-cell junctions, but anchoring is only exclusive to cell matrix junctions right over here. So from here, the cell-to-cell junctions can include gap junction, tight junction, adherence junction, and desmosomes. From there, we'll talk about it as I see that we have future slides talking about these in a little bit more into detail. So for our gap junctions we have right here, gap junctions are going to allow to have rapid cell-to-cell communication. It's to coordinate the activity of the nearby or the adjacent cell. The transmembrane proteins called connexins, which are going to create a passageway to allow chemical and electric signals to pass. Channels open and close, and many tissues and organs do have these gap junctions. I think we talk about gap junctions in the brain and how kind of like the signal will jump, but I'm getting ahead of myself because we're not on normal right now. Tight junctions or occluding junctions are going to restrict movements of material between the linked cells. So that makes sense, hence the name tight junction. Just because it's tight doesn't mean it's closed off. And occluding, there's a certain, what is it? Cystic fibrosis? I don't even know if that's the disorder. Oh my goodness, my anatomy is all over the place. Forgive me. So I don't know if you cubs are familiar. Let me see if this is even when I'm trying to remember. Oh no, it's not cystic fibrosis. What is the condition when the spinal cord oh, it's the spina bifida. I'm so dummy. Yeah, so there's a condition that I refuse to show you cubs right now, called spina bifida, and it's basically a birth defect in which like a developing baby's spinal cord just fails to develop. So that's why they'll have like a bubble in their back and whatnot. So normally you do see this bubble and it's like, yep, your baby has spina bifida. But there's a type of spina bifida called occulta, which means that, yeah, your baby still has the lump, but you don't actually see the spinal cord or it being red. It's kind of like under the skin, and it's pretty mild actually. Like I'm pretty sure it's able to be fixed and everything like that. Let me see. Spina bifida occulta is the mildest type of spinal bifida. It's sometimes called hidden spinal bifida. With it, there's a small gap in the spine, but no opening or sac in the back. Oh goodness, I sneezed. I'm so sorry. The spinal cord and the nerves usually are normal, and many times spinal bifida occulta is not discoverable until late childhood or adulthood. Oh, that's so bad. Anyway, yeah, I know the word occulta because it's just coming from the word this, occluding, and it's kind of meaning to be like hidden. I grew up with someone who had spina bifida. Oh goodness. It's definitely manageable, but definitely not something you should have. What is it? Is it like vitamin B12 or something like that? That's why they recommend this intake of vitamins for women who are pregnant to reduce the chances of spina bifida and to help like improve and have the successful and healthy development of your baby as much as you can within your own means. So yeah. Can't say it's avoidable, but basically you can take the proper nutrition to decrease your chances for sure. So yeah, restricted movement. The cell membranes partly fuse together, and the junctions include membrane proteins, which can be called claudins or occultins. That's cute. Cubs, I'm actually rebranding. I'm gonna become like an occult cult leader or whatever. Not that I'm not already am. And instead of cubs, you guys are gonna be called occultins. I think it's cute. So again, like I said, a tight junction is going to restrict the movement, but it's still going to allow for stuff to pass through. So it may vary in leakiness, and this leakiness can be shown, not leakiness, I guess the leakiness can be shown, and tight junctions are present in intestinal tracts, kidney, and blood-brain barrier. A cult leader has to rebranding. Stop. I just want like a cute, like, I don't know. I think that was like my weirdest, biggest thing when becoming like a VTuber. I'm like, wait, what do I call my followers? In a not cult way. And so I'm like, oh, cubs are so cute. So I always just think it's really cute to find like a little, like, I don't know, a membership or like a follower name. Yeah. So we talked about gap junctions, we talked about tight junctions, so let's talk about anchoring junctions. So anchoring junctions are going to have those CAMs, or the cell adhesion molecules. These CAMs are going to be located on the cell surface and bind cell to cell and cell to matrix for mechanical strength of tissue. So we're also going to have coherence, which is going to allow that cell to cell anchoring. Or we're going to have the integens, which is going to allow the cell to matrix anchor. From there, we're going to have the cell to cell junction, and the adherence is going to link the actin fibers in adjacent cells. And the desmosomes are going to attach the intermediate filaments, which is going to be the strongest cell to cell junction. And lastly, the cell to matrix junction, we're going to be talking about the hemidesmosomes, which are going to be the intermediate filaments. Well, the last one is going to be our focal adhesions, which is going to be made of actin. I'm not going to lie to you, cubs, I need to strongly focus on these junctions because a lot of this is not super familiar and they're throwing a lot of words I've never heard of before. So hopefully when I come back strong, when we're talking about pathophysiology, I'll be talking like a pro. I'll be like, oh yes, the actin and the myosin, and that is involved with the muscle fibers, and this is why you can probably find this here. We're talking about the surface cans? Wait, what does that mean? What does that mean? Anyway. Oh, cute! We could talk about the categories of epithelium. So, epithelium, what is a good way to define epithelium? Epithelium, define. Thin tissue formed of the outer layer of the body and the surface, lining the canal or other hollow structures. Okay, cool. So we have different types of tissues, and you might have heard of these before or vaguely familiar from your biology class. So these are not names I'm familiar with. I've never heard of exchange, transporting, ciliated, protective, or secretory. But I have heard of like flattened, columnar, cuboidal. We'll politely look away for the time being and try to see if we could get more image, because I'm just gonna read this out, but it's not gonna stick to me unless I write it and I see it and I like make my own personal notes. So I apologize in advance. But hey, this will probably go over it. Yeah. Functional types of epithelium. No, they want me to hear the video. No, I don't want to hear the video right now. Exchange. It exchanges. You see? Woo. Woo. Transporting. Woo. Woo. Forgive me. Ciliated is gonna kind of be like the what is it called? Like the sea anemone in the sea. Okay, that stringy finger type kind of stuff. And this cilia is going to create fluid currents that sweep across the surface, so to allow movement and transportation. The next type of epithelium is going to be your protective. So again, our integumentary system, which is going to be like our skin, the hair, the nails, and the layers of the skin. Remember the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis. That's going to refer and be considered our protective epithelium. We have secretory, secretory, they secrete basically, and we have exocrine and endocrine cells. So the exocrine cells are going to secrete their products into the external environment. So this is going to be responsible for secreting enzymes, HCl that we saw in the stomach earlier, ions, and mucins, and etc. That makes sense because exo means out, so it's going to secrete all of these into the external environment, while the opposite, the endocrine cells, are going to secrete their products into the blood and to be circulated throughout the body like our hormones and whatnot. So we have different types of connective tissue. This is something we talked a little bit in our GA course at the very beginning when I was first doing study streams at the beginning of the year. So we have like loose connective tissue, and that can be like basically the skin around blood vessels and organs. We could talk about dense irregular connective tissue, which is going to be referencing like our muscle and nerve sheets. Dense regular connective tissue is going to be like our tendons and ligaments, you know, the muscles that connect to bones, or bone on bone. We have adipose tissue, which is going to be kind of like adipose is just like another fancy word for fat as well, and this is going to depend on the age and sex as well. It's the idea that how do you call it? This is gonna sound rude, so I apologize in advance. Women are known to have more like adipose tissue around their tummy, just because that's just how they're built naturally. They just have a little bit extra because basically. So blood is also a type of tissue, and you're gonna find that in the blood and lymph vessels. We have cartilage, you know, stuff that's going to be like our nose and our ears. You can also find cartilage on joint surfaces, spine, again, ear, nose, and your larynx, which is going to be your throat. And another type of tissue that we have, which I guess it sounds weird to call bone a tissue, but it is. You can find bones in bones. Wow, wow, wow. Right? From there, we can look at our muscle tissues and our neural tissues, and we can kind of talk about the difference between these two. So let's break it down, okay? So from here, the muscle tissues can be cardiac, smooth, or skeletal muscles. They're excitable, and excitable in a sense that we can stimulate them. We can move them, we can do all that, and they will produce action. We say, hey, we want to move? We'll send a signal that excites them, and it's like, okay, we're moving, let's go. Muscle tissues are going to have that ability to contract and produce movement. Neural tissue, on the other hand, is going to be referring to our neurons and glial cells. They're also excitable in a sense of the electric signals that they get from our brain. These neurons are going to be responsible for like our chemical and electric signals that we get throughout the brain and body to be like, I'm thinking about moving, I'm sending the signal to move, and ta-da! I'm moving. Thank you, brain, for sending the signal, you know? So there's a summary of the characteristics of the 4 tissue types. So we did have this as our, what do you call it, our types of connective tissue, but this is like the 4 main one overall. So you have your epithelial, your connective, your muscle, and your nerves. Oh, Moe, hi, welcome. Or, okarinasaimasen. Welcome and happy Maid Day. Welcome. Hi, I'm taking a break from studying science. It's about electromagnetic waves. I'm sorry. Well, welcome back to more science. I'm your host, Tippanya. Well, either way, I'm glad to be a part of your break. I hope that your studying is also going super well. I've been at it for a little over 2 hours right now, and we're almost done, so I'm super excited to also take a little baby break. Naga says, brain not sending the signal today. It's okay. Don't worry. Sometimes we have those days, but that's why it's important to have like a little rest break, or what I like to do is like the little Pomodoro method. And you know, you force yourself to take a break, but you also force yourself to study, you know? But if you're just not even feeling it with the Pomodoro method, just take a break. Your mental health is way more than, you know, anything else. So if you're not feeling it, hopefully you could take a little off day, and then tomorrow you could come back stronger, you know? But yeah, so our 4 tissue types. So we're going to have again your epithelium, your connective, muscle, and nerve. This is going to go through like the matrix amount, the type, the unique features. Don't worry, I won't really bore you with that kind of stuff. So this is just a review of the systems that we talked about on our first PowerPoint when we're talking about intro to pathophysiology. So we have 10, remember. So our first one is the integumentary system, which is going to be our skin, our nervous and endocrine, which is going to help coordinate body function, because your nervous system, again, is going to be related to your central and peripheral nervous system. Again, when we talk about the CNS, is your central nervous system, which is involving your brain and your spine, while you have your in the PNS, which is going to be the peripheral nervous system, which is going to involve basically everything else that is not your brain or spinal cord. The nervous system with the CNS and PNS, and the endocrine system, which is going to be responsible for your hormones, all that's going to help coordinate your body function. For musculoskeletal, again, that's going to provide support and movement. That's going to be all the muscles that you know or are familiar with, or that we've learned in previous study streams and that we will learn in the future. Again, for any new cup coming into the study streams, I hope to do, in addition to doing pathophysiology, because I do think conditions of the human body are relatively interesting, I think it's also really important to talk about our leg muscles, because I actually think they're a little bit easier too, so... The circulatory system, which is going to help distribute material, you know, our blood, our red blood cells, white blood cells, all that good stuff. And in relationship to the immune system, which is going to protect the internal environment. And last but not least, we have your 4 other systems that are going to help exchange between the internal and external environment. And that's going to be our respiratory system that helps us breathe, the digestive system, which helps us get energy from the food that we eat, the urinary system, where we remove waste that we have from our daily life, basically, and our reproductive system, which is going to help us, well, reproduce. So yeah, the summary for this one: the human body is separated into functional compartments, and we did talk about that. We talked about the anatomical, and we talked about functional. The functional one being more cellular, and hopefully we'll go into a little bit more detail in a little bit later in the PowerPoints. Again, this is just week 1, so ooh. Cell membranes have 4 important functions. So cell membranes that we saw, the phospholipids, are going to be made of multiple things, but their functions are going to be a physical barrier. They're going to help regulate exchange with the environment, communicate with other cells in the environment, and provide that structural support. 3. Intracellular compartments comprised of cytosol and inclusions, organelles, and protein fibers. Something we briefly just went over, and I would like to repeat because my brain can't remember what they are exactly. But organelles, again, including like the mitochondria and all that. 4. Extracellular matrix in the cell-to-cell junctions hold cells together and form tissue. Their composition varies from tissue to tissue, and as we saw, we had again those gap junctions, we had the tight junctions, and what was the other one we had? It couldn't be closed, can it? Anchoring. Alright, so we have anchoring, tight, and gap junctions. So, yes. Number 5. There are 4 categories of tissues of the body. We have epithelial, connective, muscle, and neural tissues with characteristic functions that, again, we can see in this chart here once we review. And last but not least, organs consist of tissues that carry out related functions. So, yes, I do hope my organs do work appropriately. Hello, heart. Do not fail me anytime soon. And with that, I think we're done. I don't really have anything else I wanted to do, and I pretty much hit the limit of where I wanted to go study-wise. Hopefully, again, I might return maybe with more study. Because I have to do assignments. That's actually probably like the biggest issue. So hopefully maybe I'll return back, and if I study really hard, I'll come back with gaming. If I don't study really hard and I realize I'm salakalackin, whatever that means, I will politely do another study stream and then hopefully return back on Friday as well, and we'll actually do a gaming stream, okay? Alright, so from there, let's wrap it up, okay? So let's put this here. Let's put that there. And let's do this. So I'll be wrapping up. So anyone who's new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate you, whether you were lurking or actively participating. Thank you for joining me in my study streams. Again, it's just one of those fun, wacky things that I do, and I'm happy that other people can learn or also like chill out. It warms my very, very heart. But if you like to join, I have the Discord, which is the Cup Club. From there, we do stuff like anime nights, and hopefully we can do gaming stuff soon. But Bearcat School just started back up, so it's kind of like boo. Let's see. From there, we have our Twitter. Oh no. From there, we have our Twitter. Normally, I have a schedule pin, but this week may be a little wonky as well until I adjust with school a little bit. But hopefully, I'll be able to stream a little bit longer. Not longer. More frequently. I'll still try to keep up the 3 days when I can, and hopefully stream around the same time. If not, normally at 7 p.m. EST as well. Thank you for the stream tip. But yeah, no problem. Thank you for being here. I appreciate ya. And then other socials like YouTube, TikTok, and all that cool stuff. Okay. So from there, let's get our raid message going. If you're not subscribed, feel free to participate with the little bear emoji, and we'll do the Gao Gao raid. And if you are subscribed, feel free to use the second one with the Tippa with the Gao Gao raid, okay? Thank you for the very educational stream, Tippa. Have a great rest of your night. Yes, you too, you too. Please go to bed early. Go to bed early. Yeah, I'm gonna see who to raid. Short Maid stream. Oh no. Oh no. Alright, Cubs, you have to help me out. Is this bad? Should I just do like the quickest 2-minute poll? So we can raid. We can do art that's Maid related. We can do art that is Lazulite related to like Niji Sanji. Oops. Okay, that won't spell out. And we have someone playing Chibi Robo. I'll start up a little tiny poll right now to see who will raid. I know it's kind of like a given, but also I like choice. And also, the Maid one, the Maid art stream is supposed to be short, and Mian is like 2 hours in, so I'm like, Mian. But I haven't raided Mian in so long, so I'm kind of like, yeah. We'll pull up and we'll see who to raid. Yeah, hope to catch you next time, and maybe tomorrow we'll go over some muscle if I do end up studying, or maybe we'll do like a really quick review of last time. And last time being today, you know. And we'll have very smooth sailing. Yeah. Go. Oh no, someone voted for Chibi. Oh no, the Chibi Robo someone. No, I'm so sorry. Whoever wanted Chibi Robo, the person actually ended up finishing their stream. So I'm sorry. No more Chibi Robo. Only 2 art streams. My bad. Oh no! And Mian's getting rated too. Heck. That's fine. We just read back and sir. Alright. Well, it's almost ending. Let me copy and paste my own raid message. I can't just go into stream like that. Holy heck. And we should be good to go. Let me close this out. Let's get this hacking PowerPoint out of here. 1, 2, 3. Ba-da! Ba-da! And we're good. Alright, so it looks like we're gonna be raiding into Mian. She has not streamed in a long time. So it looks like she is currently on hiatus. Okay. So maybe she's just back. She hasn't updated her description, which is perfectly fine. I'm glad to see her. I did see like a random Twitter post she had posted recently. I'm like, Mian, I haven't seen you in forever. So luckily it looks like everything is doing super okay. And oh no, Robo, No, wait! Robot! Robot! Thank you for gifting a sub to Nagan Atomic. I appreciate you very, very much. Nagan Atomic, welcome to the Sugar Bear Club. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I appreciate your support very, very much. Now we could go official raid. Let's go. Any raid's official, so it's fine. It's fine. Oh wait, maybe should we say Happy Maid Day? Heck, no! Custom raid message. Happy Maid Day and welcome back, me and Gao. Is that a lengthy message? Is that obnoxious? Is that obnoxious? Hopefully not. But she is drawing stuff for Maid Day, so it makes sense. And it's only polite, you know? Either way, you can copy and paste either message. If it's too wordy, I do not blame you. Anyway, hopefully see you cubs tomorrow. We're gonna be raiding again. Hopefully it won't be a study stream, and if it is, I apologize due to my own negligence and laziness. I gotta take advantage of my only day off to do schoolwork, so I gotta apologize. Anyway, have a good one and a good night. Bye 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 bye.